Hey everybody, welcome to this week's conversation for Self-Care Summer. We are talking about hiking today as a self-care strategy. So to get started, let's just talk in general, like what does hiking look like for you? How do you use it for self-care in your life?
I think I use it differently depending on the day, right? So like sometimes I want some alone time and to be with my thoughts, and I might go by myself. Um, I might listen to music, or I might just listen to the nature around me. But sometimes I like doing it with people, usually my family, um, and having a shared experience with people I love is kind of fun too.
Hiking and meditation are closely related for me. Just being out there and paying attention to all your senses and like, listening to the wind and the trees and what birds are singing and stuff. So it can be kind of spiritual for me, but I'm not one of those. I'm a very I guess beginner hiker, you could say, because I don't I'm not into like having to climb and do things while I'm hiking. I just kind of want to walk at a nice pace and enjoy the things around me, and yeah, so that's kind of my take on hiking. How about you?
Yeah, I love that. I used to be a really kind of intense hiker. I don't know that I was ever like an advanced hiker, but I was hiking for the purpose of like getting a good workout or like achievement. It's like it felt like I was doing it for like a gold star, and now it's much more for the experience itself. I think I used to kind of forget that there's like the journey along the way.
Yeah.
It was like about summiting, and I don't really. That's not why I hike any longer. So it's cool for me that as a self-care tool, hiking has evolved into something where I like. It's time for me to like feel my own existence, to like get grounded, to be present with nature, and to be present with myself.
I find that really interesting because the idea of it's not about perfection or getting to the summit is something that I really had to spend a lot of time letting go of. And really thinking about self-care, think about like what does it mean to take care of myself, who I am now, not this idealized version of what I could be, should be, all of that kind of stuff. I think that's that mindfulness piece that you're talking about too, right?
Yeah, I feel like I can resonate with what you said, Lauren, because like it's about the journey. It's not about the destination.
It's a really different mindset, and I think there's especially a culture in Colorado of hiking. Like, for example, there's the 14ers, so all of the mountains that are over 14,000 feet. And I think in like hiking communities in Colorado, there's this conversation around like bagging 14ers. So it is like check the boxes, do the things, and it just adds like a weird level of pressure to hiking when it's really something that can be such a different variety of self-care. And I think for a lot of people, and it's great that is, a motivation to do it. So when you're going hiking, when you're like prepping, gearing up to go hiking, what does your prep look like? How are you figuring out where you're going? What kind of hike? I know Casey, you talked about like kind of depends on what you're looking for. So how are you making decisions about those things?
Well, for me, I guess I could say that like it's based on where I'm gonna go, and also so I prepare like weather-wise. What am I going to take for the weather, and do some stretching as well because I don't get out and hike all the time like I would like to. So I try to do some stretching before I get out there and start walking, and maybe try and look up the trail that I'm on to see if there's like any points of interest that I want to stop by, and make sure I have my phone is charged because I like taking pictures of like all the like trees or flowers, or maybe there's a wild animal or something like that, so I can look back on and remember that walk. So that's kind of how I prepare.
I think when I go by myself, I kind of plan the whole journey, not just the hike, but the like. So I like to hike up the Poudre, and so I'll make sure that I have a podcast downloaded or something. So for the drive up there, obviously making sure I over prepare, so I always have like a little med kit because I'm super clumsy and I have fallen on hikes and needing some band-aids or whatnot. Extra bottles of water, some like snacks. Usually I'll pack a second pair of shoes for in the car in case my boots get muddy when I'm hiking or something. I use all trails to kind of find, like I kind of know where I might want to go, and then I look up and see like, okay, today I'm feeling like a moderate 5-mile hike is about what I want to do, or no, I think an easy 2-ish mile hike would be good, and kind of look in the area.
Yeah, I love that. I think about how I always bring an extra pair of shoes, and like one of the highlights of hiking for me is putting on different shoes when I'm done. And like I don't know, there's just some comfort with that. So I'm really glad you said that because that's one of my favorite parts about hiking. I also think, try to think pretty far in advance of when I'm hiking, even though a lot of times anymore when I'm hiking, they're like short, like morning hikes, they're not super far away from where I live. I'm trying to also think about what food should I eat beforehand so that I really feel like fueled and powered up, versus, I don't know, not thinking far enough in advance and having a granola bar for breakfast, which I know will not be enough for me to feel ready, and then that makes hiking kind of a drag. Just feels hard, and that's not what I'm looking for when I'm hiking.
Yeah.
So when you think about hiking and you think about somebody who's maybe experienced trauma, what's wisdom you might offer? What are things you all are thinking about as it relates to hiking and trauma?
That's a really good question. I think really tuning into all of your senses, like you were talking earlier about being grounded, and engaging all of those senses to just feel the calm that nature can provide, you know, and when you feel like you're in tune with nature and really listening to what sounds you're hearing and naming them, and what do you like? Do you feel the breeze on your face? Is it cool? Is it warm? You know, what is the weather like? Are you in the sun? What does the earth feel like? You know, are you in a grassy spot? Or I think those things can be really calming. Just physically connecting with the earth. You know.
Yeah, I love that. So much value to kind of let our nervous system take a break, and find some relief from how we might feel in our typical day-to-day.
Yeah.
What comes to mind for you, Casey?
I think about our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So you're hiking, which you're exerting yourself and you're breathing out of your chest, which is that sympathetic nervous system. It's kind of your adrenaline gas pedal for yourself, right? And one of the things I love to do when I'm hiking is to get that going, and then like get to a place where there's a bench or something, and I can like sit down and really do some of those deep belly breaths, which engage that parasympathetic nervous system. And like I'll stop and I'll stretch if I'm starting to feel like burning in my calves, or if my back is starting to hurt from my backpack or whatever. And that's me helping to like bring that kind of balance back into our worlds when we're so focused on achievement and moving and goals and all of that we very seldom are engaging that parasympathetic nervous system. And so that's one of the things I really appreciate about hiking.
Yeah, I think what you both talked about really gets to the value of really being present when you are hiking, and just an ability to reconnect to ourselves and our days and what's happening around us in a way that we can't or don't always do in our day-to-day lives. And I think especially for someone who's experienced trauma, it's just there can just be so much opportunity there to kind of practice really living in the moment and experiencing that. I will say I think there can also be some things about hiking that could be challenging for someone who's maybe experienced trauma, and so I don't think that should be a deterrent, but I always think it's a good thing to think in advance about what are our triggers and how can we kind of plan in advance for those to limit as much as possible. If we know that we prefer to be aware of our surroundings, maybe like listening to music or a podcast is not a good thing to do, or if we know we might be nervous alone, we plan to go with somebody else. So, just thinking about what is important for us, for our own healing and for our own triggers, and then kind of be able to plan in advance for those things.
Yeah, those are good points.
So I wonder, as we kind of wrap up, if you had like a piece of wisdom to offer someone who's never hiked before, what would you share?
I think I would say trust your body and listen to it so that you're not pushing yourself too far or, trying to conquer, as we were talking about, your destination, but to just really feel into your body and trust your body and what you feel like you have the capacity for, and leaning into that. And I feel like hiking is a form of self-care and self-love, just being in nature.
I love that.
I would probably say start small. Like, that's one of the things, especially if you're not from Colorado, the altitude will really get you. And you think that, a 300-foot gain in elevation isn't that much, but if you are already starting at 11,000 feet, that's a lot, right? And so don't have your first hike out be a 7-mile, 600-foot elevation gain. Maybe do a 2-mile loop around. There's some really great 2-mile loops, 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile loops around town.
Yep, I think both of those so wise. I have very practical thoughts for someone who's never gone hiking. One of them is bring way more water than you think you need.
Yes.
It's hot, the altitude dehydrates.
Yep.
And you do not want to be somewhere without enough water.
Yep.
It really is important. And the other thing is wisdom that was passed to me by my grandpa, which was that if you are on a trail and you get to go downhill early in the trail, you have to remember that when you come back on that trail, you have to go uphill. So you have to save a little bit of energy for those things. So I think it's just smart to have some forethought about the trails that you're on so you can be prepared, because many trails you have to circle back around. So
That's right. That's true. Sunscreen too is good out
sunscreen.
here. As Casey was talking about the sun. Even in 40-degree weather, if it feels cool, you're going to get sunburned. So
totally
take care of your skin.
a real risk. Yeah.
Hiking as self-care. What do we think? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
2 thumbs up from this one.
Definitely 2 thumbs up.
Thanks for listening in on this Self-Care Summer Dialogue. You can follow along on Instagram and YouTube, and you can sign up to participate in some of our hosted events through our website at www.wgac.colostate.edu. That's www.wgac.colostate.edu. And as always, we're here to support you 24/7, 365 through the Victim Assistance Team at 970-492-4242.